Welcome to the Prosperity Pathways podcast. My name is Erica Darchelle, and today we are featuring Noel Benitez, owner of Unparalleled Eye Designs, an interior design firm. So, if you want to start with a little snippet before we get into our conversation about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Erica. I appreciate the invitation. Such a critical, important topic. So, I am the owner and lead designer of Unparalleled Eye Designs, and we are an interior design company that serves mostly the DMV, just in terms of like that's the area that I live. But I was just in Columbus, Ohio on a project and willing to travel for work, but we really focus predominantly on residential. And people will call us in to essentially beautify their home to the next level. We don't do as much big kitchen and bath renovations as much as we do like beautiful new flooring and lighting and stunning colors and beautiful furniture and wall decor. And then people have actually consulted on the outside, the exterior as well, in terms of just the overall aesthetic. But yeah, I've been in business for myself since 2013, and I wear so many hats. It's everything from like I do know how to reach out though for help. I'm getting better about that, but entrepreneur life, what can I say?
It's a journey, and a lot of people just think, oh, I get to be my own boss, but they don't really understand what being your own boss means
Exactly.
because
They
you have to put in the extra effort. So, my first question for you, what sparked your passion for interior design? And when did you decide to make it your life's work?
Sparking the passion definitely came from, we all are born with a specialness. And I believe that spatial understanding space was one of mine, even from a young age. Even I was like probably 7 years old, even younger sometimes, just doing little things in my room. I do remember even moving like a little desk area from one side to the next, or even the way I rearrange my desktop. I was still thinking about how can I make this fresh, new, more functional, and appealing.
Mhm.
So I would say it started there. I did major. I studied international affairs, so I really thought my initial career path was going to be in the foreign service sector, which has been completely blown up, unfortunately. But doing the Peace Corps, doing for foreign service, and I had an opportunity. The universe and God, things are going to set you up and get you on the path that you're really destined for. So I began curating art for Busboys and Poets, and I was just started to understand that first aspect of entrepreneurship, wearing different hats, being the contact, making the decisions, but then I was also selecting which art would go in each space. And I liked that so much. And I thought, gosh, I really like the way this feels and just kind of being in control. I'm not particularly controlling, but I have my moments where I want to be in control. And I thought, how can I be profitable though? Like curating other people's art, that just gives you a little percentage of a commission. You know what I mean? I need to be the main force. And I said, I always like space. I do my own homes or apartments at the time. So I basically said, let me try a little hand in interior design, so to speak. So it wasn't formally studied. Like I said, I did international affairs, but I put a little ad in on Craigslist, which is like so old school now. Put a little Craigslist ad, and I actually, after a couple weeks, I got a hit. And I mean, the structuring, it was completely different then. I mean, it's laughable what I paid for myself from that project, but at the same time, you have to start somewhere.
Mhm.
And then obviously with time as your business grows, you start to learn how to set up your payment structure, so to speak. But yeah, it started with, and I also will say this, Erica, we are Air Force family. So that means every couple years we were from England to Panama to Cali. And when you're moving that much, you're living in different places. There's different opportunities to look at the space and like, oh, let's try this piece here. Or you acquire new pieces, but the way we operate as a family, we like to get our home in order. So that also inspired me being a now interior designer.
Okay. You mentioned you've lived in multiple countries because you grew up on as an Air Force child. So,
Mhm.
how did those early experiences shape your aesthetic on approach to different designs?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm so fortunate for that background because the vividity of the colors, the different, like, for example, in Panama, that you had the Kahuna Indians, which are the indigenous people of Panama, and they always have these beautiful beads that are going up and down their arm and necklaces. And so I guess the texture and the movement and the way colors come together, that was one of the initial things I saw. Not to mention you've got beautiful lush green jungle everywhere. So that was pretty much the influence of Panama. England, I was young in England, but I still remember going to Indian restaurants. Like, you know how there's just some memories that stick. And I remember seeing Indian people as well and the beautiful saris. Of course, they're a beautiful culture on their own, but there is a lot of cultural aspects to to East Indian culture. So all cultures really, but it's like the vividity again of the saris and the gold. And I just remember thinking like, wow, like I guess had an eye for that regal look. But and then a really big top influence was living in Turkey. I lived there for it could have been 2 years, but it ended up just being 1 because I was like, "Eh, I wanna live on my own," and I was like we were living on base with our mother, and so I mean, it wasn't, like, strict or anything, but retrospectively, I'm like, "Man, I wish I had just lived there the whole 2 years," but that's fine. So, but Turkey was very much I mean, it's old world, so parts of the turkey look like you're walking around in the Bible, you know? I mean, still, even with the way like, the garbs that people are wearing is straight up like, this could have been right where Jesus was walking around,
Yeah.
and yes, but then you look over here, and then you have, like, this modern world that will have this raw type of paint on the walls and in a chandelier, like, Turkey is just a really fabulous, fabulous country. Then you have the Ottoman influence, the Muslim influence, it's Central Asian, it's not Middle Eastern, but the culture. So it's like the crossroads of the world, of a part of the world, and you're just gonna get a bevy of historic aesthetics, uh, which is why I do have a personal love for like a medieval type of aesthetic, which is it's old world. Like you're not gonna ever catch me with that mid-century modern. To me, I'm just like, nah. And I get it works for some people, but I'm like, take me into another time period. And Turkey definitely did that. And then of course the mosaics, it's just really stunning. And yeah, those are probably my top ones.
Okay, so I have to add those to my travel list. I haven't been there yet.
You just wait. You just wait.
Alright. So, how do you balance your personal creative vision with honoring the client's identity and what they want, their desires?
Yeah, this is such a super question. I start by leading with like, this is their home. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's through my aesthetic, but like, this is your home. This is your living space. This is your environment. I've already spent the time on my home, right? And I did that on my own regard. So I really think of it as like a nice dance that I have with clients. My signature look is just in my DNA. So even if you're like, "Hey, Noel, I want this whole place mid-century modern," right? I will take my eye and then the mid-century modern aesthetic, which is not my aesthetic, and still be able to put a signature look on it, but with the furniture that they prefer, the wood, the elements they prefer. And it's actually a cool challenge. So I actually and my style is so unique, like medieval, like people are not so
Mhm.
really most of my projects are based on my client, but it's still gonna come through my eye, and I will deliver what they want, but with my signature lens, and so it almost there's really no conflict to be had because it's like, "Hey, this is your home," and even if they're, like, maybe a little bit adamant about something, I can pivot, but thankfully, I don't have too many people being too adamant about something, but I feel like I can gently pivot or gear them if they seem like they're kind of heading in a direction that's not gonna really flow, and I just remind them, like, it's my responsibility to deliver these looks to you, you know what I mean? I really take ownership of it, and I really like when it is something that is a little of a like, something different than what I usually produce because I'm like, "Wow, I can't wait to put my signature spin on this still." So it's a professional challenge for me that I look forward to.
Yeah. At least you work with them instead of trying to read their mind. They actually can tell you what they want. I think I had brought this up before. episode of Will and Grace because on Will and Grace, Grace is an interior designer. And so she got this big ticket customer and she just looked up his background and stuff. And even when she went to meet with him, she wasn't actually listening to what he was saying. She was telling him everything that she thought was going to work for him based on what she researched. And when she put the room together, it just looked like a jungle safari because he was from Texas type of thing, and he didn't want that. He just wanted, like, a simple, clean man kind of look, and she just
Oh,
went
yeah. I mean, and we've all seen those videos where the reveal gone wrong, and they're like, "What did you do?" And so I am when I say almost, not ever concerned about how the client's gonna react because 'cause I'm like, I know I listened every step of the way.
yeah, because sometimes a person might say they want one thing, and once they describe it completely, what they were picturing is exactly what you end up picking out, but it wasn't what they described, if that makes sense.
Well, yes, or like capturing a feeling, like, for
Yeah.
example, the project I just finished in outside it's called New Albany, right? Stunning area, right, in Ohio, I mean, very nice, and, I knew that one of her goals was, like, some clients are, like, really concerned, rightfully so, about having this continuity, like, they want every room to feel the same, and and that was one of the things she's like, "I really wanna make sure." She's like, "If we work with all these different colors, is it from space to space?" And I was like, "I guarantee you this is" I'm like and so she did absolutely trust the process because we did, like, a very rich, deep, green with still a little bit of yellow in it in her foyer, and then I did, like, a chocolate like, imagine, like, a Tootsie Roll,
Mhm.
chocolate in the dining room, and
Ooh.
then I did, like, like, burnt sienna, linen curtains in her, family room, and then in her bedroom, I went with a Merlot paint, gold curtains, and petrified wood. I mean, it was definitely a transformation, and the home just flows, like, from and these are pretty dramatic spaces on their own, like, they stand on their own, but when you walk around, you're like, they flow together as well, so, but that's the idea of, like, I know that your goal is to have so much continuity, and so I hear that, and I make that part happen.
Okay. Yeah, that actually sounds really pretty.
Oh, yeah, I'll share some images.
Okay. No problem. So for Unparalleled Eye Designs, what were the early challenges and turning points for you?
When I first started, I didn't have a car. I had previous cars when I lived in Texas, but, when you moved to DC, I just went probably the first 10 years of living here, like, maybe 9 of living here without a car, and so I started up, like, the Craigslist ad and all that stuff. That was with me, like, still, like, getting on the metro. Nothing absolutely nothing wrong with it, but when you're a designer and you're holding things I mean, I didn't have all of that material and stuff with me at the time because 'cause I'm learning as I go, but, that was definitely a challenge. I know that there was a cool opportunity for a beautiful home in Virginia, and I get why the client it wasn't necessarily gonna work, but it was also a blessing because I did have some clients that were willing to I mean, they offered to pick me up in DC, drop me back off, and I remember being like, "Oh, I feel like such a burden," but, like, "You guys could just take me to the metro." I was trying to be gracious because I was already so grateful that they were willing to even spend some money, and I think maybe my first project that was like, wow. The first big project budget was like 6K, which, now that is the way 6K looks different for the business now than it did then, but I was just like, wow, I just remember really feeling proud of myself, but a big challenge that almost all designers have, and even still very seasoned ones, we're still always sharing, like, how we're doing consultations, how we're doing but it's figuring out how to scale how to come up with your payment, process, is it gonna be an hourly thing? Is it gonna be I've come up with a flat rate, that works for me. I know some people say, "Oh, you're leaving money on the table," and I'm like, "We all have our own systems," but I'm like, "If you get the numbers where they need to be, and you're mindful about how you budget and actually make your purchases, I'm like, it can make so much sense. And then you know how it is when you're in business for yourself, there's other ways to make money from the business. So I have access to, wholesalers or more like trade. They're considered wholesale if you look at the price difference, but so I can doesn't happen as much as I'd like, but I've had people I'm a dealer for Uttermost, and so if someone's looking for their products, there's no pricing, you know what I mean? Like, you have to get in contact with a store to, have Uttermost products, and so, yeah, one day, a guy, he was like, I'm interested in these lamps," and obviously I was able to mark up the price, which is by design, not me being, like, slick or anything.
Yeah.
You mark up the price, and then you make money off the sale. And all you really had to do was just place an order and put an address, and not that it's you do a lot of work to get to the point where you could do something as easy as, like, just put an order and then, you make money, so that's why but it doesn't happen as much as I'd like, and that's gonna probably fall on me. I need to put myself out there more in
Okay.
terms of I'm a dealer. Mhm.
So, like, do you do affiliate marketing as well with some companies? Do they offer that for
Yes, I actually was just invited to work as 54 Kibo affiliation, and so 54 Kibo, Kibo, they have just beautiful, stunning products from the motherland, really sharp, modern, abstract types of pieces, light fixtures and wall decor. And so I was very touched when a rep reached out and said, "Hey, we'd like to be an affiliate." And so yeah, that's my new one. I went and I applied and everything. So now I just need to land the next project that will work with that look. I could fit some of their stuff into just about any project though. So hopefully I just put a proposal in, so I'm praying that I'm able to land that the way I want, and then I'll have an opportunity to do 54 Kibo, and then I'm able to offer like a designer promo code.
Okay. Well,
But working on more.
I got it. So, how have you scaled your operations, staff, and service offerings since 2013?
Okay, yes. Well, I definitely when I first started, it was more of like personal shopping along with the client, and, I was even doing installations myself, like, literally getting up there, hanging the curtains, and which I'm glad that I've got the capabilities, but that's not happening anymore. Once I started to get my contracting team, which they're not, like, my full-time employees, but when I do need to get started on a project, whether it's lasting several weeks, like they do. But thank you, Lord, they do prioritize Unparalleled Eye Designs. And I was just with them just last week. We were painting a home in Alexandria. And so yeah, so having them as a team, I do right now I'm hiring design associates as an as needed basis, like design college students. And a lot of times it's them reaching out to me. So I've had some of my other recent installations did involve my design associate, but now she's back in school. But in terms of having full-time employees, I'm not there quite yet, which means I do still have some work to do and scale. But the other reality is, Erica, like I don't see myself having necessarily the big design firm where it's a bunch of designers. What my personal goal is, a professional goal, is to just get bigger, high-end products, bigger high dollar projects, and just have like my one-on-one really nice rapport with my clients and have my team. And then of course the budgets. The budgets are in a whole different place now, and we own every bit of the project. The client doesn't have to think about much of anything except paying.
Yes, that's exactly why you hire interior designers, personal shoppers, so that you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It takes something off of your plate and saves you time, even though it may cost a little bit of money, but that's money that would have been wasted with you spending the time doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah, and it does make you think about, like, where you put your money because there's times when people, like, don't wanna pay for a service, but if they look at the way they just been eating out over 2 weeks, that's the service paid for, you know what I mean? And, of
yeah,
course, we gotta eat, but does it have to be on that level all the time where you end up spending $500 on food in a matter of 2 weeks just eating out? It happens, you know.
I know.
Mhm.
I know. That's why I cook almost every other day. If we do order out, it's once a week. We try to stick to that regimen. We usually do. It's just a matter of how you build your wealth, right? You have to be able to make the sacrifices early on.
Right.
Later, we can afford to do that, but will we want to now that you've trained yourself not to? Uh,
Mhm.
so, what's your process for vetting materials, furniture, lighting, and other design elements, especially when working across different budgets?
Yes, so, really, I have multiple sources, so I just depending on, obviously, the piece of furniture, the scale of the furniture, and the level of customizing that's gonna happen. Some names that I work with, like, I've done Row Furniture, Four Hands, I've purchased at Ashley Furniture, Belfour, Macy's. I don't do too much from Macy's by way of furniture, but that's why I like to get to the point where the budgets are higher, and, of course, just this many years in business, you do need these higher budgets, where I am going to customizable, like, for example, you have iHope. These are, like, places where you're probably gonna drop, I don't know, you could easily drop 10K on a sofa, but every project doesn't call for that. That's when you're really, really scaling with your range, but I've gone into HomeSense. We have plenty of HomeSense in this area. I have gone into HomeSense and found some of the most beautiful light fixtures. Oh, yeah,
I love nonsense.
HomeSense, and what I really like about it, when you have a targeted goal, it's very easy to go into these stores that are filled with plenty of merchandise and plenty of styles, but once you hone in, "Okay, we're going with kind of like a desert elegance," you know? If it's desert-like elegance, you're not gonna get the big, beautiful fuchsia chair. I mean, it depends, but it's not necessarily good desert-like elegance, that's gonna be like your whites, your creams, almost like a white sand desert, if you will. And so that chair is probably stunning, but if we were doing with like this like lady luxe bedroom, that might be, so it's about, narrowing your focus and knowing how to really synthesize through all of these rugs, all these coffee tables. I mean, there's so much you can choose from, and multiple tables will fit multiple rooms, and that's what I do with clients. Like, again, we all have our own ways that we work as designers, but, like, let's say you're my client, and we're like, "Okay, we're putting together just cute little sitting room." I'm gonna share 2 to 3 examples of chairs, 2 to 3 examples of rugs, all of them, and the truth is, if you're like, "I like chair A, but rug C," they're gonna work. "I like chair D, but rug A," they're gonna work. You know what I mean? That's where, like, the creativity and even just the expertise comes in. So you have this level of autonomy because it's not like I'm telling you, "These are the chairs. These are the only chairs that will work." No, I'm like, "Here are
Right.
4 different." Sometimes it's just 2 options or 3 options, but then the client's like, "Oh my gosh, I love them all." That's the hope that they "I love them all." But and then and I don't even really try to really, really push an influence, because the only reason you're looking at these 4 options is because as the designer, I would be fine with any of these. So it's like I do my level of distilling, and then I give them very distilled, and then it comes down to the choice. But yes, home sense. And then when it comes to, I like to do a lot of custom arrangements. I like to go into little small boutiques, find stems. Sometimes I order stems from wholesale, and yeah, but that runs the gambit. But I make sure the quality's there.
Okay. So you often mention a collaborative exchange of energy with your clients. How does that work in a design consultation?
Well, really, it starts with the excitement that I have just to be in space and discuss the transformation. And that's definitely something clients can see, that I'm enthusiastic about their home, regardless of size, regardless of what we're doing. It is always an honor. You're trusting me. I charge for consultations. So you're trusting me, you're investing in this, even if it's just a consultation, and I am ready to deliver. So that the good tone is established from there. And then I really, before I even start, "Oh, I'm gonna do this and that," I say, "Tell me about the space. Tell me what's working, tell me your goals." And so I really let them highlight things, and I'm able to, if the conversation is not necessarily fluid, I'm able to keep us exactly where we need to be. And it starts there. And of course, the trust gets built because it's like, I am someone you can trust to be in your home, someone you could trust to listen to you. But they have to feel that themselves, you know what I mean? And that makes sense, we're human beings. And then again, listening to them, like, and I'll this is what the question I say, I'm like, "Okay, if you have any wild suggestion regarding color or idea or usage," I'm like, "Don't hold anything back." I basically give them permission to be as avant-garde and as abstract as they would like to be, because all of that helps me land on the look.
Okay. So, can you share your favorite design element that you've brought home from your travels abroad and how you integrated it into a project?
Let me get out the way because it's right here.
Yes, that I love it too.
Thank you, thank you. So this
Yes.
is a piece from Marrakesh, Morocco, and the Gemma Afnal, which is the big famous market. And there are markets all over the country, but this is like the renowned one where they have the monkeys when you walk up and stuff. And you gotta watch out because they will don't throw that monkey on me. They're cute stuff, but
Yeah.
sure. And they have diapers on, but anyways, I digress. Yeah, this piece, and I'm just amazed at the story because I still think about, wow, I almost passed it up. I just saw it beautifully displayed on the wall, and I just walked in, I spoke to the merchant, he had 2 sons there, 2 little sons playing, and I was like, "Wow, this is something else," and I was just drawn in, and I was just like, but then I, like, turned to, like, walk away, and he was just like, "Why don't you buy this?" He's like, "You're so drawn to this." And I'm like, "Yeah," and it was just, and then at the time in Morocco, it was only $90 US. This is oil on camera. I'm just like, so I couldn't pass that up. I couldn't pass that up, and, just kinda kept going around with it, rolled, um, and then I remember I had it above stowed away on a train ride from Marrakesh back to Casablanca, and I had the nerve to get up and halfway get off the train, and my friend was like, "Oh my gosh, Noelle, your art!" I was like, "Oh, my words."
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe that would have been, the funny thing is life is crazy like that, so it probably would have been such an old story now. I wouldn't have even thought about it, but I'm really anyways, it worked out. So this is one of my favorite pieces for sure.
It is. It's very nice too.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I wanna get a lot of art like that. I have one piece that somebody gave us, so I'm working on it slowly but
Yeah.
surely.
Cuba has a lot of stunning art. I haven't been myself, but I've seen some gorgeous art coming out of Cuba.
So, my next question for you, how do you stay innovative and fresh in design without burnout?
Thank you. Good one. I would say the client's desires change so much from client to client, what's wanted, that that helps it stay innovative actually, and that actually helps prevent burnout to its own extent. Then there's also High Point Market, that's like the big interior design market. There's like over 100,000 vendors. That happens not once, but twice a year, and it's very, very detailed, and I love it because once you're there on the grounds, they are feeding you all day. They really keep you, and then they have these, like, big happy hours and big parties at night, and it really is a lot of fun, and so High Point Market, but that is where designers go to, of course, see all the new products. That's when you sit on furniture, that's when you're really testing things out, and then also you're kind of being spoiled in the process, and you're also seeing designers that you haven't seen in many months or a couple of years, and it's like a huge convention, but for interior design, but it's not necessarily like, "Oh, it's so proper." We're creative, so there's drinking in every showroom. People are, like, having a blast. Like, it's not like a government conference or anything, which you can I'm sure you knew that. Mhm.
Exactly. It's a little stuffy until the happy hour afterwards.
Right,
And
that's when people start having personalities.
so, in your business of home piece, you discuss dealing with damaged products and vendor pushback. How do you manage those moments and maintain client trust?
Well, I get right on top of it. Actually, my new Albany, Ohio project was the most recent one where I had the light fixture delivered, and, you're paying for someone to sit there and install it, so it's not just like, "Oh, we'll just order the new one." You're paying for that one-time installation, and one of the lights was unfortunately defective, like, the light bulb was not screwing in, and the installer was like, "Hey, I just wanna show you we have this problem." But at the same time, I was just like, I'm leaving the day after tomorrow. I know my client would rather have the light. I don't know for sure, but I made the call. I would rather install because it's like this round thing that goes around. It has this little white cap that goes over. It's a cute light fixture, but if it wasn't super, super obvious. So I said, you know what? Let's just go ahead and install it. It could be way worse. And so I made the call to install it, even though there was one light that was defective. But I immediately and she didn't even notice it. That's what I'm saying. It was almost so subtle, but I got right on top of it. I hit up the vendor, showed images. I mean, I had all the documentation that was needed, and I said we went ahead and installed it. So then what they did, and they're great vendors, they sent a complete new light fixture. They didn't need that other one back because they know it's like it's defective. You're just going to absorb a defective thing. There's so much good inventory. I mean, like I said, it's not that obvious, and so but the client was able when you're on top of things, well, first of all, you explain what's really going on when it happens. So just being honest about the issue, letting them know exactly how you're gonna manage the issue, and then not letting it slide where they have to follow up with you and say like, "Hey, what was going on again with that?" You basically beat them to it each time because that's your project, project management is something that's you're being paid for. So, but yeah, not taking my time to remedy something.
Yes, delegating and just making it work. So, how do you manage to keep quality and consistency when working under client time and budget constraints? I know that's kind of similar to the last question.
Well, knowing the good vendors, even staying on top of reviews. So if I am getting something online, I really am gonna be like, I will sit there and filter. Like, I need this to be like a 4 and above. And then even then, I'm like, where's the highest coming from? And yes, because and especially when you have like many, many reviews, you know that there's something good happening there, like something is working. And so starting with what's there, going to places like High Point Market, experiencing the product for yourself, that is a form of like quality control. And also just having that discernment, having that intuition about what's something that looks like it's going to serve long term. Or even if it comes down to like there's House, you may have heard of House, Houzz. They have lovely inventory. They have inventory from some of these wholesalers. I mean, the price is up, but still. But they have almost 0 they don't have white glove service, and white glove is when you pay some extra, but it's totally worth it, and the delivery team brings it to exactly where it needs to go. It takes off the packaging, and it takes it with them. It's just a really good way to do business, and this place doesn't offer it. So I'm the type I'm not going to inconvenience myself or the client. So I will make another choice on the merits of you don't make delivery easy. This is not going to be good logistics. And so that's another form of quality control as well. Cause some people just, oh, but this and that. It's like, think about every step of this. Like, is this going to be laborious or can we find some stuff is worth it, but other stuff, it's like if you can find an alternative.
Yeah. So I knew they would take it in that with white glove service. I knew they'd take it in the house and put it exactly where you want it to be. I didn't know that they take the packaging and stuff with you. That actually really, really does help because that can fill up
Yes.
your trash can. And if you're a family, you might already have a full trash can, and now you have to figure out how to get rid of this stuff too.
Exactly. Well, it's gonna be if it's a big piece of furniture, you're gonna have to find like bulk disposal. And then the other thing is, when they open up the product, then you're able to look at it. Like, let's say they drop it off and it takes someone a couple of days to get to it. You finally open it and it's damaged. You can be like, whoa, you can catch the issue right then and there and be on top of the photos. Hopefully it's intact, but it's not always the case. So everything went off without a hitch except for that light fixture. But I think she's just gonna take it to another one of her homes. She has a couple of houses, so she's probably like, "Cool with that, let me take this to the other house."
Exactly. Repurpose it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
It is a win-win, it is a win-win. But I will say this, Erica, remember I paid for the first installation, but
Mhm.
I did let her know, "I hope you don't mind paying for the second installation," and because she's a good client, she's a friend, but that could have gone I mean, some other people could have felt like that's part of the project, like, I don't wanna have to pay. I don't think that would be reasonable, but you never know, people can be like that, so and
Mm,
there is a point there, but I used every inch of the budget on that project. I wouldn't wanna pay $150 out of my own pocket for a mistake that none of us could control.
right. Just letting them know it was something that was out of your control. Maybe if it was something that was your fault, then maybe, but it was not your fault. It came
Exactly.
yeah. So, my next question, what is one design project or collaboration that you consider your proudest moment and why?
Ooh, design project or collaborate okay, I'll take collaboration. 'Cause
Mhm.
I am proud of my projects, but I just collaborated with Homeworthy, which is a home tour company, a home tour online presence. Like, they have almost 1,000,000 subscribers on YouTube, like, almost 500K followers on IG, but they do beautiful home tours all around the country, sometimes internationally as well. But they feature influencers, other designers, like, a couple of celebrities as well, like, I know Amy Schumer did one, but I recently did a home tour of my place here in DC with Homeworthy, and it's done really well. It has, like, a little over 70K views on YouTube. I don't know if I sent you that link. Okay, I'll have to send you that link.
Yes.
Okay, yes. So, but I really was grateful that they actually do a lot of house tours, but they don't necessarily repost all of them on IG. So I feel very fortunate that I don't know if it's like they don't have I'm not sure what their system is, but I do feel grateful that they resonated enough with my home tour to repost on Instagram, which I think that one maybe is up to like almost like 45K views. So it's just I haven't really had stuff that's gone viral. It's not like my huge goal to go viral like that. But here's what's funny, and like this is what's funny about business. Sometimes things are like more of a popularity contest versus turning into hard business. And it takes some time. Maybe someone who viewed that then is like still building up. But as of right now, my business hasn't necessarily increased tenfold because I have these tens of thousands of views. That's what's kind of tricky about our world. Like it's popularity contest versus like, wow, this is turning to business. But again, you never know who's watching. So it's about patience as well.
Mhm.
But it's an interesting dynamic.
Yes, yes, it is, and I'm getting used to it. I think you're around my age range, so a lot of us from that generation is getting used to it because we were told, "Just don't tell your business on TV," and stuff like that. All of those things around that.
We
So
know that's out. That's way out.
that's why it's so funny because it's like now it's, "What, you don't tell your business on TV?" It's like, "Well, how am I
Touche.
supposed to know what you ate yesterday?" Like,
Touche.
oh, it's very funny. So, my next question for you. How do you measure success beyond aesthetics? What holistic impact do you hope your designs have on people's lives and well-being?
Oh, well, thank you. That is good. I measure success by just in this world, that's just and in the interior design world, it's maybe like seeing who sees me. So when people reach out for affiliations, when people reach out, God willing, I get the showroom a show to design and a show house opportunity. Those are ways that I'm like, I know I'm making an impact. And then for clients, back to that piece about like tapping into them, really, really listening, even if it's something that's a little bit different or unconventional just knowing that, like, they're working and collaborating with someone who's gonna have a love for them, a love for their home, and really try to land it. And, of course, I need to make sure that I'm happy with the project and I'm okay with impressing myself, but it's more of like I guess it's the equivalent of, like, when parents watch their kids open up Christmas gifts, right? Which you just have that it's like you're just you know that you're parts of the happiness, but you're not trying to be like, "I'm making everyone happy." You don't own it that way, but like, "This is because of the way I listen and the way that I loved you as a parent and that it landed me to give you something that is exactly what you want.
Yes.
So it that's what I could probably give you, and not everyone feels this way, but the way that my emotionality works, this is how it feels for me, and that's why I have friends that where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how are we friends?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you were my client 5 years ago." And that's really special. It doesn't happen all the time, but then I also have clients, I mean, relationships where it starts off as platonic and then they see what you're capable of and they're like, "Come to my house." So it starts as a friend and then you turn into a client. So again, it's not all the time. Sometimes you work on a project, you don't ever you finish up business, they thank you, and you might not even hear from them again. You know what I mean? So that's okay too. So that is how I know that there's kind of a lasting element to it. A couple of projects that really I thought were like super strong, I use in publications. And so those clients, they have a tangible something that's like, wow, here's my house right here. Here's like a shot of my living room. So for them, it's really memorialized. But even social media, I mean, IG, as long as you have it, like, who knows where the world's gonna be, but I'm just saying, like, they can go back on because I do get their permission in the contract that they're okay with me posting and videos and stuff, and most of the time, I would say 97% of the time, people are okay with that. Every once in a while, someone's like, please don't post," and I'm like, "Dang!" I mean, I have to respect it though, but
Yeah.
I'm darn.
So you did a really good job and you're like, I really wanted to show this off, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, like, this one project especially, I was like, "Yo," because it was just this beautiful coffee table, I haven't seen it anywhere. So, but, you gotta respect what people want, right? But
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dude."
It happens. That's the way I felt when I was doing culinary arts, and, I get to have that feeling with my son as well, so
Nice. Yeah, yeah, culinary's a big one with that too.
yes.
Especially when people eat your food, that's everyone's like,
Yes, and you don't really wanna ask, honestly, you wanna wait and just see the look on their face. But,
"Exactly, exactly."
okay, I think it's okay. So my next question for you, as a member of the DC design community, how do you see your role in uplifting local design, culture, and underserved neighborhoods? And you're a part of the Design Collective DC as well, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So, well, being a part of Design Collective DC is one of my top things. It's a lot of, designers of color. And I'm actually going to put my name forward to be a new board member. I think that some of the officers are ready to rotate. And at first I wasn't thinking about it, but we had a nice holiday dinner. But stepping into that role, of course, I can own some of those things now. But once I become an officer, I do want to do more by way of finding more community ways to work. Like we do cool field trips and stuff like that. But I want to add another layer of meaning, which is part of that intentionality as well. But sometimes we're on our busy lives, so things get overlooked, let's face it. So, whether it's a tutoring initiative or maybe putting together a program, we are dealing with adults with whole lives. So, we need to have something that's sustainable that people can actually commit to, even if it's maybe like once a year, twice a year. And also, believe it or not, I get a lot of phone calls throughout the year from people that are Googling or young design students. Like they're asking if we're hiring, right? But I'll say, like, good luck. But sometimes they'll have a question. And I usually take a moment, more than a moment, to answer questions because it's a lot of young designers, a lot of that are just in design school, a lot of local DC people will reach out. And I try not to rush those. I try to be as informative and as real about it if they're asking me certain questions. And so I think taking a moment to share yourself and offer some guidance, even if it's just like a temporary mentorship, that is something that people do appreciate. And that is like my little way of giving back. But it can grow more and it will. I will.
Exactly. I mean, as long as we put out good things into the world, eventually it'll come back to us. A lot of people just have to learn to be patient with that process.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, what is one key insight, mindset shift, or habit change that you believe has been instrumental in your journey?
Well, I'm hoping this habit change of now I'm doing SEO work for my website, which is can be a little pricey. And I mean, the prices range, but depending on your company, some people are spending like upwards of 10K every month just to have their website optimized, which I'm definitely not in that space. But I was resisting it for a while just because I was just thinking about where the investments should really go. And so I've taken on a new ranking team and I'm allowing them to go in, get the Google Analytics, like really show me some new performances. And I do feel like I've had a little bump up in inquiries. So I'm like, oh, hopefully this is the optimizing his work. Sometimes it takes months though, but that mindset regarding optimizing my website. There are other ones, but that one's just like the most recent and very tangible.
Okay. Time, right? Because that
Because
sounds like hours worth of work,
calculations.
right?
I'm just kind of stepping into it, but I know I do get my Google Analytics reports and such, and I'm like, "Dang, that many people clicked in, but not one phone call." Nah,
I mean, that's how it looks, and then it
yes. Well, I mean, that's where it's like relying on other people that are just more knowledgeable than you in other areas, like that sort of thing. Because I know I'm not trying to do my own SEO work, you know what I mean? I'm good on that. Let an expert do it.
right,
Mm.
'cause we've done that for people as well, and
The SEO, and it takes time.
it
And
does.
so it could be a little costly too, but I mean, they were like, "How's like 1,200 a month?" And I'm like, "That's not happening." So I'm like, "Let me see what they talk about in India."
One site,
And
um,
then I think they were like, "Okay, we can do it for 8.95 a month." And I was like, "That's still just too high. This
yeah,
is my web team."
yeah, and I know
So,
a lot of people that charge all of that for just SEO on one website.
okay, see, so that is the range, but I know it's doing more than that. But
Exactly.
I understand it's almost like with designers. If people are reaching out in this area, they're hearing our numbers and they're just like, dang, okay, wow. Years ago, 10,000 used to be an okay budget. Now it's like 10,000 to designers. We're just like, and it might sound like, oh gosh, that's so, but it's like, there's a reason, like this is the going rate.
Yeah,
So maybe that's why they started there and they said, okay, we can land, but see, 8.95, like it's literally almost the same number, which industry wise is going to make sense.
yes.
Hmm. Like the cost of a massage now, I'm like, I'm gonna just, I mean, I go to acupressure, I go to Chinese acupressure massages anyway, so I don't need the little Swedish thing. And like one of my client gifted me a gift certificate leaving, before getting on the flight because it was my birthday weekend and stuff. But the massage was nice, but well, she said it was at 12:30 and to get there at 12 to 15. I got there at 12:15. They're like, "Oh, it started at 12." And it was only 50 minutes. So essentially I missed 22 minutes of this massage.
Wow.
But I'll make this quick. It was nice, but when I went to go, it was the gift card. The gift card was 165 and I still owed a couple of bucks because so basically it was like this 50-minute massage cost almost $200
Yeah,
and it wasn't mind blowing. So it's not just that it's like I'm being frugal, it's like the quality is not always there. I mean, she was a sweet, it wasn't bad, but I'm like, dang, $200, you're expecting like the works. And
yeah.
then there wasn't any way they didn't accommodate because they have a very time schedule. So I literally missed 22 minutes of that $200 massage. So I was on the table for no time at all. But anyways, I'm not let me get that rant.
Well, it's worth talking about, right? Because a lot of people wanna make sure they're getting what their money's worth. If you pay almost $200 for an hour-long massage and you showed up 15 minutes late, so they took 20 minutes off of your massage and you didn't get a deep tissue massage, I wanna take a nap afterwards, that wasn't a good massage.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciated the gesture, but I thought, wow, that's expensive for what was delivered. But yeah, but the rate of a massage now is just up there and it's all across the board. So I don't even think facials cost 150 is like affordable now for a
Yeah.
facial.
Actually, I was gonna say that that I think that is the pricing for, like, a basic facial is
Yep.
$150.
So, yep.
So my next question, how can listeners apply this wisdom to their own wealth building journey?
Well, I would say I hadn't mentioned quite yet, but making sure that you're saving and investing. I would say I like to do a high yielding interest savings account, which I'm sure you've discussed probably several times, excuse me, on your show. And then also the stocks and whatnot. So like I have my Fidelity account. I'm starting to even under stocks, even a little understand them a little bit better. Also knowing that increasing your cost is just part of it, you know what I mean? Don't feel bad about it, don't undercut yourself, but also don't be so exponential, like, really finding the balance, even if it means taking a look at comps, even if it means reaching out to other entrepreneurs in a very similar field. Not everyone is so open, you do sometimes catch resistance with this, but I would say do your best to talk to people in your field and get a sense of like where the numbers are and see if you're performing where you're falling in that same range. And back to the savings, if you do have a good project, you have to take Erica, about 15% if you can manage. I mean, the world is so costly today, it's sometimes hard to take that chunk of change and be like, let me lock this away
Yeah.
in a dark room. So, being realistic about that, of course, but some investments and nothing super, super risky. You know what I mean? Like just if you're going to start off with stocks, go with some of the classics that you know are not about to be super volatile. A friend did make a cool move for me and I'm glad I didn't combat it because it ended up actually creating some earnings for me in the stock market with Dallas Morning News of all things. But about 2 years ago, he had bought 500 shares of Dallas Morning News at just over $3 a share, and so but he took 1,500 from my portfolio and put it there, and I didn't scrupulously look at it, because I did trust him and his knowledge, and then one day I opened up my Fidelity account and it had increased several K, and I'm like, "Wait, what's going on?" I'm like, "I know the world is still jacked up, so what is this?" And so I knew it wasn't from the market.
Mhm.
And so I did upload it. I took my portfolio, I uploaded it in chat, and I'm like, what just occurred that my account is this much, is almost doubled, really almost doubled. And not that it was a huge, huge number, but still. And they were like, oh, I see what happened here. Hurston has acquired Dallas Morning News. And so from that acquisition, so it shot the shares up from like just over $3 to almost $14 a share.
Okay.
And I was like, "Dang." And so I was like, "Let me," and then I was, of course, just, "Should I sell this now? Like, is it gonna get any better?" Well, and they did advise to sell because, I should probably see what the shares are now. I'm actually not mad about it because I was like, "I don't want anything random to happen." And it had gotten up to, like, 13.68, and they're like, "It'll probably tap out at 14," which you never really know.
Yeah.
I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna sell," but that was an example of just, like, sometimes your investment can grow a little exponentially. So now I'm like, "Any acquisitions coming up?" Like, for example, you recently saw Paramount and Netflix.
Mhm.
It makes me wonder if, like, Paramount shareholders, now that the merger just happened, the stock probably I just wonder, did those people just make some cash too? I'll look that one up. But, even that moment and the transaction, those sort of things with life, I'm starting to understand how it works better. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm learning the stock market better." So
Yeah.
that was cool too. Mhm.
And tuck away some money and it'll multiply for you.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, we already know, try our best for the multiple streams of income. So, mhm.
Okay. So any last words for our viewers?
Well, thank you for your time and save, save, save. And you could still have fun and enjoy yourself. But if it comes down to where you feel like you were just spending exponentially on things that will be gone tomorrow, really take a moment to reassess that. And then in terms of entrepreneurship, of course, it's so obvious to say talk to people in your circle, but really try to see where you are with the numbers and how you're valuing the service and the creativity that you put forward, and then kind of jump in there. You don't have to debate and watch from the sidelines and overanalyze for too long. At one point, you just have to make the move and learn while you're actively doing it.
Okay. That's great advice and I love it. So save, invest, invest in yourself if you don't already know how to invest in stocks or bonds or anything like that. At least invest in yourself, in your mind, in your education, in your
Amen.
skill set. That's my message as well.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Erica. Thank you for, what you do for the community and what you share.
Thank you. Have a great day.